So thank you everyone for joining us for our live Q&A with Fishbowl and QuickBooks expert Jeanne Tarazevtis. If you can please enter your questions right now, Jeanne will be able to get started on those soon. You just go to the GoToWebinar dashboard with the symbol of a question mark with a circle around it and enter it there. We also have our sponsor here, which is Avalara. They will be able to provide a quick presentation about themselves and why you should consider them for your Fishbowl and QuickBooks environment. So I think that's all I need to tell you guys, and Jeanne will just wait to see if we have any questions in the questions panel, and she will go ahead and answer them.
But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for a question, we had a little webinar, like I think last month, about the Dropbox integration for Fishbowl. And especially in these times of remote working and COVID, the Dropbox integration allows you to attach transactions, source documents to transactions. So let's just say I'm here in receiving. I can come to Dropbox and I can drag and drop files. Let me grab something here. And this document will now be linked to this receiving transaction. Okay. Drop files here. And that way we can have the bill of lading, the packing list, everything that came from the vendor is right here and available to the accounting person who's going to come in here and reconcile. Okay. So it's a great add-in and we would love to help you with it. So give me a call. All right, I have a question. So, okay, so I don't see the name of the asker. All right. There's a way to make.
So, is there a way to show credits and payments on invoices sent to customers? This was asked by Deanna.
Okay. Okay. Are you sending your Okay. So payments and credits can be shown on a QuickBooks invoice quite easily. If you want to show them on a Fishbowl invoice, you can do payments, but probably not credits. Because in the design between Fishbowl and QuickBooks, you know, QuickBooks is intended to be where we manage accounts receivable and accounts payable. Okay, so in QuickBooks, we can come over here to Forms and Templates, and we can edit the template to show those sorts of things. So you can have a payment and then a subtotal there. Okay.
Okay, next question asked by Sally. What is the easiest way to turn a non-inventory part to an inventory part?
That is super easy question to answer. So I come in here to materials part. I'm going to get myself a non-inventory guy. Okay. And now I can convert my, right here on the upper right hand corner, I can convert it to an inventory type part. When I do that, however, I think we want to make sure you have to have, it has to be inactive. So let's see. I hate the way it tells you can't do it until you're at the end. But let's try this guy. Convert. Yay. But after you convert it, I recommend we come in here and make sure the account coding is correct. Because if I'd had specific account coding on that non-inventory part, my inventory part would now probably go to those old account mappings. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Do that.
Thank you. So we have Laura wants to know here, how do I reconcile an invoice when the item receipt shows the incorrect quantity and the item receipt in Fishbowl has to be updated? What considerations will I need to make when I When I then am in QuickBooks and am reconciling the item receipt and bill from Fishbowl and from the invoice in bill.com.
Okay, so we're talking about reconciling receipts, okay? And you're telling me that the operations received the wrong quantity? You want to unmute her?
Yes, that's correct. So basically, I'm trying to fix an incorrect item receipt quantity in Fishbowl in order to reconcile to the invoice I'm getting from the vendor.
Okay, so you're going to go out to your guys and say, you know, you said you only received this quantity, the vendor says this quantity. Okay, they should be the ones fixing this. So did they over receive or under receive?
Over.
Okay, so they should come back over here to the purchase order. I have a question. I wonder if we can void this receipt. Probably not, because it's but the QuickBooks, but.
Yeah, so we've learned from kind of our trainer at Fishbowl that you can try to void the item receipt and enter the correct one, but that's very unlikely to work. So I think he had suggested that you have to have like a vendor credit return.
Right.
But
That's what we're going to go back to the original purchase order, and my way of doing it is to make it easy, because I'm lazy, is to duplicate the purchase order and then just put on what I need to fix. So let's say I need to change this to they over received by 5. So I'm going to take that and put on my 5, and I'm going to put credit return on here. And this line was fine, so I'm going to take it off. And now I'm going to issue it. And now I am going to fake ship it to the vendor. Okay, finish and ship. So now it's out of my system, because you want, on the quantity, you want it to be fixed in Fishbowl, especially because your on-hand inventory is impacted. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. So then I guess from when I'm in QuickBooks, right, like QuickBooks will be the system that kind of brings the communication from Fishbowl and from bill.com together. So if I have an original item receipt and then a vendor credit return for the difference of what I received incorrectly, how does that show up in QuickBooks? And will QuickBooks know that the bill relates to like the net of those two item receipts, basically?
Okay, so in QuickBooks, what you're going to see is you're going to see a, let's just send it over there. Why not? All right, accounting, export. This one's running on average cost, just for reference. Come on, I posted yesterday. This should be fast. I figure out why it does that. Okay, and so which vendor did I pick on? Oh, guess I didn't do it yesterday. So my vendor that I picked on was Ducks Change Shop. So let's go over to QuickBooks, vendors. And by the way, I would want, so all transactions. All transactions. Did I not send it all the way over there? I should have a bill credit. Did I forget to ship it? I bet I forgot to ship it. Yep, gotta ship. Now it'll go over as a bill credit, and you can apply that bill credit to the invoice. All right.
Got it. And then I guess for like if you were to have the opposite where we didn't receive in enough, is that easier because then I can just edit my item receipt, or do I have to have an additional item receipt?
No, they're gonna do an additional item receipt, but you want to make sure operations is doing this so they're aware of the quantity discrepancy.
Yep.
You know, we have to work with them. So, you know, ops is really good with quantities and accounting is really good with dollars, and we both have to work together to make this all wonderful. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Not on this one. No, thank you though.
Okay.
Okay,
Next.
so now we have one from Anne. I have an item receipt that was accidentally fulfilled by someone else prior to me reconciling with the invoice. Do I manually add the bill to QuickBooks?
Okay, that item receipt, once it was fulfilled, the bill went to QuickBooks without being reconciled. So the question is the bill really wrong when it got to QuickBooks? So it would have come over when somebody hits the fulfill button too soon, it would have come over here with no number in QuickBooks. So you're going to want to find the bill and edit the number, the reference number. Okay. And then if it's slightly different, if it's slightly off, I like having an account here that says purchasing variance. So I can, you know, plus or minus that a few dollars to make it balance to what the vendor bill is. This way that purchasing variance gets expensed off to cost of goods sold, and it doesn't impact whether or not my inventory matches. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have another one here.
What we can do is, one of the things I always do is I take away, I go into my user setup and I take away the ability to reconcile or fulfill and reconcile away from everybody, because you don't want accounting to actually hit the fulfill button either. Okay. So it's all down here under receiving, and I don't want my people fulfilling. So I haven't actually done this one, changed it in my sample file, but that way nobody can do it by accident except the admin, because you can't stop the admin from anything. All right, let's go to the next question.
Okay. While on the topic, can you help me understand the difference between fulfill and reconcile?
Okay. While we're here, okay, we want operations just to receive. Okay. If they hit that fulfill button or this fulfill button, accounting doesn't have a chance to come in here and match the vendor bill and make any corrections or do landed cost. Okay. So like this one has lots of customs duty and what have you on all kinds of landed costs. So we go through the reconcile process to add those costs to our inventory. Okay. And we can, so it's going to ask me how I want to allocate this inbound freight. So I'm going to say I want to do it based upon quantity, the same quantity on both. Then it's going to ask me about customs duty and how I want to do that. I'm going to base it on quantity as well, etc. And then it'll show us our total amount billed, and accounting's now come through this. And once you hit this finish button from an accounting standpoint, it is now fulfilled as well as reconciled. And I can't do that one for some reason. That's what happens. It's the danger of a sample database. Now, what I have seen a few times, and I saw about $700,000 worth of it, was somebody cut the bill and they decided to reconcile it without receiving it. Okay, find one that's, so accounting came in and reconciled this. All right, next, finished. And now I've got a status of reconciled. Well, this is not a good thing because I now have, I'm set to send to QuickBooks a $58 bill that is not in Fishbowl. So I had a guy call up and Fishbowl and QuickBooks didn't match by 700,000. And we went through my checklist on that. And what it was is his AP person had gone ahead and reconciled $700,000 worth of bills without receiving the product. So I can reconcile without receiving. It's bad form to reconcile without receiving. Okay? Did I answer that question?
Sue, you're unmuted on my end if you want to unmute yourself. Okay, I think you did, Jeanne. All right, so moving on to the next one. This is from Dan. When you have two separate locations, how do you determine which location to pull an order from within Fishbowl?
Okay, so typically, okay, you have, and I'm assuming a sales order. Typically, you have locked your sales order to a location, okay? Because, you know, the idea behind location group is that it's a separate building and it has some physical separation, okay? So if I don't have it in my Salt Lake City warehouse, I can change this to a different warehouse, okay? Because they do have it, and then I guess I can, you know, alert them that it needs to come out, shipped from their warehouse. Does that address your circumstance?
Dan is unable to join in with without a microphone, but I'm sure he can type in whether or not that answered his question. So I guess we can move on to another question. This is from Nancy. Oh, yes, Dan says it did. So thanks, Jeanne. All right, so Nancy asked, how do I set up automatic generation of valuation report to PDF and save it at a specific time daily?
Oh, I do that for everybody. So I come in here to set up schedule. Okay. Oops. Set up schedule. Hit the wrong one. And this is my daily valuation report. So we go new. And we select report. And I've set it up a few times on this database for YouTube videos and what have you. And then you have to find an appropriate directory. Okay, I'm just going to put mine in documents today. And I can choose to save it to PDF. Normally, I save it to CSV so that, you know, if I have to go back and research, I can do filter and what have you. But if you want to save it to PDF, go ahead. And the file name I usually use is dvalue. And file name I usually use is dvalue. You're welcome to be more creative than that. And then you select your report. Not all reports can be scheduled because some reports require user input, but I always use the asset valuation by account. And specifically, I like the ones that we did because the ones we did have all the unit costs and quantities. Next, and we want format for exporting, probably not if it's PDF. And next, now we just schedule a time. I like to schedule them late in the evening so that the date on the report is the same. It's the same as the day of the activity, okay? And I think that answers your question.
Okay, now we have a question.
I have a YouTube video that does that one.
Yeah,
Do
it's
I?
uploaded. That's a YouTube video we have ready for you, so you can go and look at that one, Nancy. Okay, so now we have Kate here. She says, hi, what is the best way to set up first in, first out for picking items in a location? Our product also has an expiration date.
Okay, so there is a module option under picking, okay? And that is your pick. You get to select your pick method here as a first in, first out, okay? So that is the FIFO version of that picking. The only flaw with that is when we do a physical inventory or we move things, this is kind of based upon the age of the tag as opposed to the expiration dates or the date it was actually first entered into inventory. So we have, when we do things like move our product or especially when I do a physical inventory, we create a new tag and it gets a new date. And so it doesn't know how, Fishbowl loses how old the inventory product really is. So we want to be careful when we do our physical inventories that we don't redate everything to that date, because it ruins all our aging reports, it ruins our FIFO movement of goods. Okay. Did that answer it? Do we have more issues?
Kate, you're unmuted on my end if you want to add to that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
So when the person is actually in the warehouse picking, if we have that set up with FIFO, do they have some sort of scanner, right?
Okay. Are they using Fishbowl Go?
Not yet, but we're going to.
Okay. If you're going to use Fishbowl Go and you say you have expiration dates, which means you probably have lot control, I want you to make sure that you label your product with both the part number and the lot number or any other tracking. We want both barcoded because otherwise it's cumbersome to pick lots on Fishbowl Go without that barcoding. So, but they will be, when you have it set this way, their pick will tell them what location to go pull the product from. That'll be displayed on Fishbowl Go.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we have a question from Beth. How can you determine when the customer has reached their credit limit?
Well, we start out by setting a credit limit. Okay. So in details for baby bikes, I could put in a credit limit. So let's just say it's $3,000. Okay, and I can save. And this other feature that accounting can control here is we can put people on credit hold. So we can have a customer that we're going to say, okay, we're not even going to take a sales order from them. Or we can say we're going to hold all their shipments. So we can take a sales order, but they have to pay us before we will release it to be shipped. And hold on probably means they're really, we just don't want to do business with them again. I know that's not exactly your question, but this accounting stuff sometimes gets overlooked. Okay, so I come in here and I am going to my sales order and I'm going to go new and I'm going to put in baby bikes. Okay. And this is an alert note, which is great. All right. And it says now it's going to tell me their credit limit and whether or not it's normal. And this is their credit limit, so you want to proceed anyway. And then over here, we have this check balance guy. And it runs over to QuickBooks. And I need to fix that. And tells me what their balance is over in QuickBooks. Isn't that slick? I missed the roar. I like my on-site so I get instant feedback. Anybody? And then it also shows you what we have set up in QuickBooks as the credit limit. So I hope that covers it.
Beth, do you have any add-ons to that?
That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, awesome. So it's 10:29. I'm thinking now's a good time for our sponsor. Sorry?
We introduced Matt.
Yep. Okay, and actually, there's someone here who asked a question, how could you plug in Avalara to Fishbowl for sales tax? So yeah, I think that's a great introduction. For Matt, he is from Avalara, and they are our sponsor for today. Let me get their presentation up. Matt, are you able to present?
I don't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so a couple things, and I'll do an introduction here shortly, but we have a pre-built, what we call is a connector, if you will. That is a certified piece of software that allows Avalara and our tax engine to talk to Fishbowl. And I'll dive into that here in a few minutes when I talk about Avatax. But a little bit of background, I've been at Avalara a little over 5 years, and I've managed the QuickBooks, Fishbowl, Xero, Intuit QuickBooks world, so to speak, as far as the end users for quite some time. So talking to a lot of folks that are, leveraging both platforms as well as Fishbowl, been great partnership with Jeanne and the folks at Terabyte. Y'all do a great job. I always hear the highest praise whenever anybody mentions Jeanne's name and talks about Terabyte as well as Fishbowl. So I talk about sales tax 5, almost 6 days a week, every year for the past 6 years. And, one of the things we'll talk about, and we'll go ahead and zoom over to the next slide, is there's 3 things I want everyone to have as far as a takeaway from the webinar today. So number 1, we're going to dive into Wayfair and economic nexus, so everybody understands what that means for their business. We'll then dive into the streamlined sales tax, where you can leverage Avalara for some zero charge services as you have to get registered in new states. And then we'll also dive into exemption certificates. So Wayfair, streamlined sales tax, and then certificate management are going to be really important. And if you want to jump to the next slide. So what happened is about 20 months ago, South Dakota went to the Supreme Court and they said, you know what? The way people buy and sell products has drastically changed. So we want you to change the rules. And this went into the court for, I believe, 4 to 5 months. And in June of 2018, the Supreme Court said, you're right. Everything is changing. People are buying more e-commerce. That business is booming, and everything has evolved. So they allowed South Dakota specifically to be able to require sellers to have to get registered in their state if they sold enough into their state. And the thresholds were $100,000 or you did 200 individual sales to South Dakota. So what that means is all the states, and there's 45 states plus Washington, D.C. that actually do collect sales tax. And I'll get to a map here in a second. Actually, if you want to go to the next one, that'll give a good preview. They've allowed all these states to have their own thresholds, their own rules requiring, and I'm using my air quotes of remote sellers, to have to get registered in their states if they sell enough. Now, historically, you had to get registered for sales tax purposes if you had inventory, offices, employees, physical presence, boots on the ground in any state outside of wherever your home office was. And that's still the case. But in addition to that, now you have to focus on the states where you ship the majority of your products. And what I like to say is, you know, you got to think about where most of your customers are. If you specifically go to a certain geographic, you sell winter clothes, you're probably not selling a ton in Florida and Texas, but you have to monitor your total sales to see if you've hit these thresholds. And if you do, you're potentially going to have to get registered in some of those additional states. And the good news is, on our next slide, we're going to talk about the streamlined sales tax. The SST is a group of 24 member states that got together to simplify sales tax compliance. And what they said was, if you enroll in our program, and as long as you don't have a physical presence status, meaning inventory, an office, employees there under 50,000 in payroll, and you purchase Avalara's integration to Fishbowl, QuickBooks, whatever accounting software, we will actually get you registered in those states at no cost, file the returns in those states at no cost, and also calculate sales tax at no cost by partnering with Avalara. So we're one of 3 certified service providers, a CSP, with the SST program. We've partnered with them for over 10 years. And the way I like to phrase it, if you're having to get registered in a bunch of new states due to economic nexus, just because you sell a certain amount there, and you never go there, you ship your product via common carrier, the SST program covers over half of the tax collecting states, because there's 45 states plus DC that collect tax, and 24, soon to be 25, are actually participating in the streamlined sales tax program. So it's very beneficial. And we can go ahead and jump to the next one. And these are what they consider the requirements to be a volunteer remitter. So if you're a volunteer remitter, meaning you don't have a fixed place of business, you don't have more than $50,000 worth of property, payroll, and less than 25% of total property is in one of those 24 states, that means you can then be a volunteer remitter, where at no cost we'll file and remit the sales taxes for you. This program is a monumental thing for Avalara, as well as any company that is having to get registered, because the thing that has changed, number one, you no longer as a seller control what states you collect and remit tax in. And what I mean by that is your customers are effectively driving which states you collect tax in, because if enough people buy your product and you ship it to Florida, North Carolina, heck, if you just do $100,000 in sales to South Carolina, you now have a tax collection obligation in those states. So the days of only collecting and remitting sales tax in 1 or 2 states, those are gone. And I know I'm giving you a lot of information here. I'll pause for questions here and after one more slide. But streamlined sales tax is very beneficial. We have to be the ones to calculate the tax, determine taxability inside of QuickBooks and Fishbowl. And we'll go to the next slide. And then why don't I pause here for any questions before I dive into the exemption certificates. And if you just want me to elaborate or cover something again, no problem. We have plenty of time.
I have something here from Michael. He said, should shipping be a taxable item for customers that have to pay state sales tax? I don't know if that's
great
for
question.
you. Okay.
Great question. So shipping and handling, the taxability of freight per se is going to vary by state. Avalara will make the determination on whether or not it's taxable or not. Every state is different, so I can't give you a firm answer on that. Every state is different. Some states it's taxable, some states it's not. But if you're leveraging Avalara and our product Avatax that integrates to QuickBooks Online, desktop, as well as Fishbowl, we would be the ones that would make that determination on your behalf. So that was kind of a half answer, and happy to take it offline. You'll have my email and information after the webinar.
Matt, should I ask maybe the poll that you guys wanted?
Yeah, sure, fire away.
Okay, so I'm going to launch a poll for everyone here, and hopefully it's just going to be one poll. Take that time to answer this real quickly. Okay, so the question is, how much urgency do you feel to implement an automated sales and use tax compliance solution?
and I'll read the options while you're going through this. So number one, I feel the pain. I need it now. Number two, it's on my to-do list, but I have other priorities. 3, it isn't on my radar. 4, I'm already a tax automation pro. If you're number 4, let's take it offline and we can do some webinars together. And one of the things you should think about when you're looking at this question, everybody, is, you know, prior to hearing some of these things about economic nexus and the streamlined sales tax, I just want you to think about the states that you have employees high sales in. If you're not registered in those states, you're probably going to have to be, and we can dive into that here shortly. Thanks, Stephanie.
No problem. Okay, so I guess I will close that poll for you. Thank you, Matt, for coming and presenting for our audience. Again, guys, we do love Avalara too, as much as they love us, and we recommend that you check them out. So if you want to get in contact with them, we will also provide their email once we send you the follow-up email for this webinar. So I guess now we can go back to Jeanne to answer all your questions. Jeanne, let me share your screen real quick.
Okay, and I'm going to turn my webcam back on. All right. Show my screen. Uh-oh, I came up really big. I don't want to see myself. All right, so during the break, I was able to make the question box really big.
Awesome.
And I used a lot of questions with respect to Bill.com. So I thought maybe we would address Bill.com and Fishbowl. So Bill.com already uses a clearing account for Bill.com, but what we're going to need to do is we're going to make a second clearing account, which would be Bill.com clearing. Not very clever, as I must say. And it's going to be a other current liability. And nothing like being a type of person. All right, so no, actually, I want it to be another current asset. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell Bill.com that all of our inventory vendors, the mapping needs to go to this Bill.com clearing account, okay? And this is the same kind of concept that we use for prepaid inventory, is we have another current asset account and we put the payments there, okay? So we're going to pretend that Bill.com, gave us some bills. So let's come here. So instead of going to inventory asset, we're going to go to Bill.com and home, enter bill, revert, save and new. So this is going to be, we'll stick with Chuck's Chain Shop, okay? All right, and this is the bill that came from Bill.com, so just go like $1,000. That's what happens when you talk and type at the same time. Bill.com clearing. All right, save and close. Save anyway. And so now we're going to go over the vendor center for Chuck's Chain Shop. And so here I have a bill that came from Fishbowl. And what I'm going to do is come over here to the expense tab and go to Bill.com clearing. All right. And I'm going to go minus $570. And that is going to zero out the bill showing it's paid. And now I'm going to be just dealing with reconciling what we brought in from Fishbowl with what's in Bill.com. And if we have discrepancies, we're of course going to go back to the vendor to resolve those, okay? And I hope that makes some things somewhat clear. Let me recalculate. So my bill is now 0. Save and close. All right. And now I think the next question I'm going to address, as long as I'm kind of here on this concept, is somebody said that they pay for things via credit card. Okay, so I don't know if you do your downloading of your credit card straight for the bank, but this is going to be very similar to the way we're doing Bill.com. When we record those credit card transactions, okay, where's my, I might not have a credit card account list yet in this file. Chart of accounts, new. All right, I'm obviously pressing the wrong thing. New. I'm going to make this credit card account. So when I get those credit card accounts, Visa, when I pay for something with a credit card, I have a couple of choices, but I'm going to record that charge right here, and I can report it to a prepaid account similar to the Bill.com clearing account, or I can just leave it here as a charge. So then when I have my bill, I go ahead and pay my bill the same way I would have done with Bill.com. Okay, somebody mentioned that they were getting duplicates. The trick is to, send this to prepaid inventory or to accounts payable. And when I go to pay bills in QuickBooks Desktop, all right, I can then say I'm paying it with a credit card. So I can be assertive, and I can go ahead and put bill in through Fishbowl and pay it with the credit card. And then when I download it, just matches the transaction. All right, so now we're going to go back to Stephanie, because I kind of wanted to cover those two together because there's the same kind of process. And she could pick a new question.
Okay. Let me look. We have a lot.
Me, I'm going to be here all day.
So many questions. All right, here's one from Sally. Units of measure and each conversion. I have a UOM that has had a conversion to each added to it. Now I can sell or manufacture a partial of that unit of measure. Can I make a new unit of measure and change my parts over to that one? And then she has a follow-up question. If I convert the old unit of measure to the new one, will the each conversion contaminate the new one? So I'm going to unmute her just real quick.
Yes, I'm not 100% sure I understand the question.
All right, there's two Sallys here. Oh.
Hi, Sally.
Hi. Sorry, I meant I can't sell or manufacture a part of that unit of measure. My 20-pound unit of measure has been contaminated by the each conversion.
Yep, I had, this is so sad. I had a client and they were a food co-packer. They made like baking mixes, like Bisquick or whatever. And everything was in pounds. And somebody went into their file and said 1 each equals 1 pound.
Oh no.
Rick the whole file. So yes, you're gonna have to stop using the unit of measure that you liked, and you can change the unit of measure of existing parts. It's painful to change the unit of measure in a live file.
Yeah.
Because we have to make sure it's not on any purchase order. It's not on any sales order. It's not on any work order. It's not on any transfer order. And when we go to do it, because I had a company, I had to do it for a whole bunch of them. I have to wipe out my vendor history as well. So,
yeah, okay.
So what I did to get around this is I exported out the PPV before I started. And so then I was able to change the unit measure on the PPV to match the unit measure I manually changed, because you can't use the PPV to change the unit of measure. but that brought back all of my default vendors and what have you.
So what's the PPV?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing inside baseball, aren't I? Okay, so in the universe, there is this big import-export master file. It's called Part Product and Vendor Pricing.
Oh,
And when I export it out, it abbreviates itself as PPV. So everybody in the biz just calls it the PPV. So I apologize.
no, that's great. Thank you. Part product and vendor pricing.
So if you look at, so that way I preserve my history on that vendor tab. But
Okay.
I hope you don't have a whole lot of.
I've got like 20 parts to
Well, your
do.
other choice is to rename them and make fresh ones and then transfer the inventory.
That's what I was thinking, is if I make 20 pound new, but what I wondered is, can I convert 20 pound old to 20 pound new? If I did that, would that bring the?
I'm going to cycle out and add in to do that.
Right.
You can't just convert so I can take my part and say dot old is what I like to do. And make my new part was the same number with the right unit of measure. And then you're also going to want to do, before you do that, is if you're a manufacturer, you're going to want to export out the bill of materials as well, because then after you've changed those 20, you're going to those the materials and find the ones that all say old and change them back to without the old and fix the unit of measure as well.
Okay, so just let me make sure I understand this. What I was aiming to do is make a new unit of measure and change the units of measure on all of those parts to the new unit of measure. Is that?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
That's where it's painful, because you can't, it has to be off of everything.
Right. Okay.
Can't have anything open to make that happen.
That should only take a week or so.
It depends on how long it takes to get your products and stuff. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right, bye. All right, so I launched into a whole discussion she had no interest in. I apologize for that. Okay. What is here?
Okay, so we have Molly here for a very long question. So I'm just going to unmute her. And Molly, do you want to ask Jeanne your question?
Sure. Thanks, Jeanne.
Is this Molly Brown or is this a different Molly?
No, Molly Regan.
Okay.
All right. So some vendors that we have are automatically linked. Like at the time that vendor ships the product to us, they charge our credit card.
Yes.
So when those items are received by our receiving guys in the warehouse, they scan them in, and then when we export from Fishbowl to QuickBooks, those items, we almost have like a duplication of events occurring, because when I go to reconcile my credit card, I do a download from the credit card into QuickBooks, and those items come in, and then we but what happens is when I go to pay bills, the bills that have already been paid by credit card are still showing up on my accounts payable, and I don't know how to get rid of them.
All right, so here's the deal. Number one, when I download that credit card transaction, I want to have it point at not inventory. I want to have it point at either accounts payable or prepaid inventory. Accounts payable is probably the easiest. Okay.
Is that in Fishbowl? That's
No, because you're doing that in QuickBooks. You're downloading.
I'm doing that in QuickBooks, yeah.
So it's where you're pointing that transaction. Because right now on the credit card transaction, if it's going to inventory, you're going to get a duplicate, right?
Yes.
You're duplicating inventory dollars. So we
Yes.
want to download it and point it at either a prepaid account or have it go straight to accounts payable. Okay. And that way, when the bill comes over from Fishbowl, all you have to do is match the two together.
So where am I doing it wrong? Where?
It's the coding on your credit card charge.
On the credit card charge. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it during the download from the credit card?
Yes, you want to remap that to accounts payable with a vendor name, or remap it to a prepaid inventory account.
Okay.
But you don't want it going.
Can you show me? Can you show me? Or is it a hard thing to?
Well, I can't download, right?
Okay, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Your
Okay.
chart. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any set up with this.
Okay.
So we'll do this from Baby Bikes or something.
Okay.
All right. So Jill's energy source here. Don't tell me that. So instead, right here, I'm going to send this to accounts payable. All right.
Yes.
What the dollars are. And when I put that here, I have to put my vendor there, just because QuickBooks insists that we, everything to AP or AR has got to have a name. And then just leave it there. And then when the bill comes over from Jill's energy source, we can just match the two together, either under pay bills. And let's hope that Jill's got an outstanding bill somewhere. Yes. So now, okay, it says I have a $500 credit here. So I'm going to apply it to this really old, and I'm going to set the credits. So that's one way to apply them. Okay. The other way to apply them, for those of you who either have the accountant's version or have downloaded the accountant's tools, this is a really slick thing. And for those people who are doing e-commerce with lots of credit card transactions, we can match the bills, the payments up to the different bills, okay? And we can apply payments to invoices over here, all right? And all we have to do is go click, click, or hit auto apply and save.
Okay.
I hope it just made somebody's day.
Good. Yeah. I have one other.
QuickBooks Desktop and not QuickBooks Online, but things like this is why I like QuickBooks Desktop, because you don't have this in QBO. So, and next question.
Oh, kind of on the same thing. So the ones that I have hanging out that are really old, that are hanging out on accounts payable, like duplicated bills that were already paid, how do I handle those?
Okay, well, somewhere along this line, we got to make sure the Fishbowl and QuickBooks match.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if they match with those bills in there, it's probably more of a project than if they don't, if those bills are showing us the difference between the two. I mean, in reality, I prefer that the bill be the Fishbowl bill, and that, if we've coded that credit card transactions to inventory, I'd like you to recode it to match the bill.
Okay.
That's what I would love to do.
Okay. Sounds good.
For my books. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Okay, so we have Jeffrey here, and he also has a long question for you. So Jeffrey, I'm going to unmute you, and you can ask your question to Jeanne.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Okay. So he's self-muted. He just has to unmute himself.
Hi, Jeannie. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, we have a lot of people that are entering payments, and we have some customers that will pay us multiple invoices, like 50 invoices at a time. And not all these people have access to the features of QuickBooks. So in terms of sending a receipt through Fishbowl, is there any way to send them one receipt for, say, 50 invoice paid? Because when you utilize the wizard over there, it gives you, you know, a payment receipt for each invoice, for each sales order invoice paid.
Okay, so in my opinion, you know, this whole ability to take a payment in Fishbowl is a nice feature if I am on the phone taking a credit card. My ability to have a payment in Fishbowl is a nice feature if I'm selling on e-commerce, okay? But if I am selling on terms and my customers are paying open accounts, I don't want to enter my payments there at all. I want to enter my payments in QuickBooks, because in QuickBooks, I can, you know, pay all of my invoices on one check. Because right now, if you're trying to enter your open account payments into Fishbowl, you have to break apart the check to each sales order. And if we shipped on multiple, you know, we ship one sales order multiple times, that's multiple invoices. It may not even be on that check. So that would be my preference, and that's how I would set it up. Is there a reason why that's not possible? What?
But it's nice. I understand that. It's not, but it's nice for the people who are entering payments and so forth to be able to look at payment history and so forth when they don't have access to QuickBooks.
Okay, well then there's no easy way to do it in Fishbowl without breaking it all down.
Okay.
It just isn't there, because it wasn't really designed to be your AR subledger.
Okay. And also, Avalara has been kind of a nightmare since it was first, you know, joined with Fishbowl. I had spoken with, you know, the developers, and they were actually not going to work anymore with Fishbowl because there's some problems with the way that the equations are written. And actually, I was going to ask them if they can put some pressure on Fishbowl to correct some of the problems that still haven't been corrected. Like, for instance, you can't back out of transactions once they've been picked. And apparently that has something to do with the way that, you know, the equations were written, but that's a whole other topic.
Okay. We will take your information and get back to you on that, because A, you're a little fuzzy, so it's hard to understand. And B, I think we've already addressed that previously, or at least, you know, I've been on calls with Avalara where we fixed that. There's so if you don't mind, we'll follow up after this. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, actually, I've spoken with the developers and gotten really into it in detail, from committing transactions, not committing transactions, things like that. But still, there's some problems with. This is from the developers over at Avalara, saying that the equations are not being written correctly.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
And
Thanks, Jeffrey. Okay, so we almost have all those questions answered. I know Sally had a few. Do you still want me to answer them even though she left? I mean, ask them, Jeanne?
Why don't we ask the ones where the people are still here?
Okay.
Because we're at the 1 hour mark, and, you know, a lot of people have, like, they only budgeted an hour, but I will continue answering questions until we're done or everybody leaves me.
Okay, Dan isn't available via microphone, but he does have a question that he can probably type in if we answered it for him correctly. Is it possible to populate a product barcode onto a purchase order being sent to our vendor?
Okay, so yes, you can put your barcodes on purchase orders being sent to their vendor. We do, that would be a customization of the purchase order form. And that is something that Terabyte Solutions would love to help you with. Okay.
Okay, let's keep looking. Oh, he says, okay, thank you.
And to be fair, Fishbowl's report writers can do it too.
All right, so Laura has a couple of questions on here. I'm going to go ahead and unmute her and she can choose which one she wants to ask.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, it's a similar kind of question to what I had before on like reconciling when there's kind of incorrect like item receipts or issues with when the invoice doesn't match. So this particular one was to like say I received the incorrect quantity, but then the vendor invoiced me wrong and subsequently issues a credit memo. So basically I have a bill created in Fishbowl that's correct. And then I have 2 billing documents coming in from bill.com that net to the right amount. Is there anything I have to do in QuickBooks for the two to like know that they are part of the same transaction?
Well, I would go ahead and apply the credit to the bill. So
Okay.
now it matches what's in bill.com.
Yeah, and
I
that's it.
also regularly come through here and reconcile my bill.com clearing account. Okay. And I would reconcile it to 0. So what I'm really doing is I'm just matching up the transactions so that I only have the open transactions showing on a transaction report. So I can ask for things, just show me what is not cleared, kind of a deal.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Okay, I'm looking here. So the people who asked most of the questions have left. If anyone wants to raise their hand, we can unmute you. And you can ask your question if you haven't had the chance yet. Oh, Dan has a funny one here. Why does Fishbowl crash or freeze so often? Jeanne, do you have?
It might have something to do with memory and, you know, computer hardware.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Beth. Here you go, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
She's muted on her end. If you can unmute yourself, Beth, you'll be able to ask Jeanne your question. Okay, maybe let's try someone else. Back to Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi there, Jeanne.
Hi there.
So the class fields in Fishbowl, there are line item classes, and then there's that class at the bottom left.
Okay, so there are lots of different ways I can use classes. Okay, so I can have. Okay, never mind. Let me let you finish your question before I start babbling.
Okay, so what if I have 3 line items, but they're different classes? What's the bottom left one? What one is that going to be populated with? What's the reasoning for it?
Okay, so this is for if I have a reason to have a different class for some of the others, and the individual class will override the total order class. So
say it again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so a lot of times for samples, and let's see. Okay, I've got my classes way over to the right. So a lot of times I will tell people for classes that I would set up a sample or something. So now this one, I've changed it incentive So the dollars in cost of goods sold associated with the PowerTrack 2000 will go to incentive, and the other two will go with the automatic. Okay, so this line item class rules over the overall class. This went.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any more?
Let me look here. So no, oh yeah, here's Beth with one. Beth, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi,
Okay.
Beth.
Hello, I'm sorry I couldn't get unmuted earlier. So I was wondering, if you have multiple sales orders for one customer and we send that over to QuickBooks, in QuickBooks, do we have to go in there and manually add all those sales orders together to put it into one invoice, or can QuickBooks do that for us?
You can put them on a statement, but you cannot get them onto one invoice without doing it manually.
Okay.
I've had, over the years, I've had people ask for a utility that we could do that. And maybe I should go back to the drawing board and maybe come up with a utility that would do that for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. That's okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have Josh here with the question. Josh, I'm gonna unmute you because yours is pretty long to read.
Hi, Josh.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Basically, we're trying to run valuation reports, and we have it set up to email and to download to the cloud, and it's not doing either or.
Okay. So when you do this and you go to your schedule and you come here and you go for the little pencil, it's going to tell you why it didn't work. It's not the pencil. It's this guy.
Okay.
So this is where it's telling you the error message that prevented it from running.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. A lot of times, if we try to set up that valuation report from a client and it looks like we're sending it to our own C drive, but it really wants to go to the server. A lot of times I get this, you can't create the directory here. So that,
Okay.
and most
Okay.
common, it doesn't run.
Okay. Thank
Right?
you.
Okay, Rhonda, it's your turn to ask your question. All right, I unmuted her, so hopefully she can unmute herself.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hey, Jeanne, how are you today?
Hi.
Great. My question is really simple. I use locations and classes in QuickBooks, but we haven't set those up in Fishbowl. How do I do that to make sure they match and come across to QuickBooks?
First thing you're going to do is you're going to go to accounting class, tools, module options, and turn it on. Okay.
Okay, that's easy.
And then the next thing you're going to do is come over to accounting integration and come down here to the bottom, and you're going to say classes, and you're going to import it. When you're saying you're using locations, that tells me you're using QBO.
Yes.
Fishbowl does not support the location, only the classes.
And that's okay.
All right.
For now.
So, just letting you know.
Taking notes, and that you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
We got any more, or are we kind of done?
I think we're done. No additional questions in the questions panel, and no one else has. Oh, wait. Oh, we have Michael. One more. Here goes.
Hey, Michael.
Quick
Sorry, Michael.
question on when contacts are imported from Fishbowl to QuickBooks. I have accounting contacts that I send invoices to. Sometimes it seems like the Fishbowl contacts sneaks in and overwrites the QuickBooks contacts, and I'm wondering how that happens and how to prevent it.
Okay, so Fishbowl is the master. Fishbowl's the master for my customers and my vendors. So if I need an accounting contact, I have to set it up in Fishbowl, or it will get overwritten every time.
So if I create a contact in QuickBooks and somebody creates a contact in Fishbowl and an export happens, that it's going to overwrite it?
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Fishbowl wins.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
at this point, I know you've been using Fishbowl for a year now. You can come over here if you've got your QuickBooks all set up exactly the way you want it on customers. You could come right here and, you know, let Fishbowl import your QuickBooks customers so that, you know, they win this one time.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so do you want to answer any other ones? Maybe we can ask, I'm gonna unmute everyone. I mean, I don't know if that's a good idea, but let's try that and see if anyone has.
20 people have stuck it out besides the 4 of us on the moderator panel. No, 22 people have stuck it out.
Yeah.
Our folks are gone. So anybody want anything else you want to know?
Yes, we're calling from Pacific Crest. Can we ask some questions?
Yes, you may.
Okay, we have 2 questions. Why don't you ask it? You're dealing with the kits and the bombs.
I just have a quick question about the kits and the bombs in Fishbowl. What does Fishbowl classify as the difference between the two?
Okay, so when I have a bill of materials, it is a recipe for a manufacturing order. And I go and I grab everything and I put it together and turn it into a brand new thing.
Okay.
When I have a kit, I set that up here under product. And what my kit says is, okay, I put my items here, and what my kit, when my packing list looks like when I have a kit, is it says, go grab one of these, go grab 2 of those, go grab 1 of those, and ship them all together, but I don't turn them into a new thing. I'm gathering up a group of things in the warehouse I'm just shipping together. So the customer thinks they're buying one thing, the barn door, and what we're going to send them is the door and a hardware kit and a frame, right?
Okay.
Kind of, maybe?
Yes.
Okay,
that makes sense. Thank you.
We assemble the whole barn door before we ship it.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, this is more of a QuickBooks thing. We receive credit card payments in advance from some of our customers before we ship stocks to them. And the sales order comes in through Fishbowl once the shipment actually goes out, together with the related cost of goods sold. So I have the invoice and I have the payment that's been sitting there from maybe even a month ago. And somehow I seem to be having trouble, you know, getting them to talk to each other.
Okay, so your payment's not going through Fishbowl, it's right here, okay? So I'm going to come home and I'm going to go into the accountant's version, the accountant's center, and it lets me apply my customer payments. So I can come here and find one where I've got both. And so here's a credit, and I can apply it right here on this one screen, which is really makes it easy.
Oh, okay.
So if you do not have the desktop accountant's version, you find yourself your friendly neighborhood ProAdvisor and get them to set up the accountant's tools here under the company menu. It's not going to be on my menu because I have the accountant's version. But you can have the same tools, but you need someone with a ProAdvisor's license to enable them for you, okay?
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
This is a great screen. All right, are we done?
I think we are.
Okay, let's put that. Oh, I heard her voice. Yes.
Did someone have another question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, kind of. We can barely hear you.
Let's see. Let's see if this will work. So I have a question about the build materials when it comes to auto create. We're trying to get that to work when, well, so the situation is we have a product and we have sub-assemblies for that product, and we want to make the auto create to create when let's say we make a work order for the finished product, but we don't have enough of the sub-assembly. We want that to auto create when that situation happens.
Okay, I don't think we're smart enough to. We went to this. I don't think we're smart enough to do that. We can do that as a stage, in which case it'll auto create when we go to create the upper level. But once you have the upper level created, if you go through the auto MO, it should auto create a sub-assembly because you're short.
Okay.
Because it becomes like any other part, you know, when I do my manufacturing order and I do my auto MO, it's going to look at my demand. So the first time through, it might know I have to build the finished good, but I may need to do it a second time for it to know to build the sub-assembly required by the finished good.
Okay. So you go through the auto MO instead of just creating a new work order for the specific
always
product.
wanted to create that sub-assembly, you would set it up as a stage of the other. But if you only wanted to create it when it's short, I would go with the auto MO.
Okay, just make sure I'm understanding correctly. Because I'm, full disclosure, I haven't used, well, Fishbowl is still kind of relatively new to me, and I'm just making sure I'm understanding exactly what you're saying. So when you're saying putting it in a stage, are you talking about keeping it in the raw goods?
Okay, so on this screen is the work day. And unfortunately, I have no idea whether or not any of these have a BOM of their own. Okay, I'm just going to add a raw good that I know has a BOM. So next, I'm going to put in B2003, B203. All right, finish. So now that I've got this guy, I can say it is a stage, and I can specify the sub-assembly number right here. So when I do that, assuming I now have a separate level. So when I make a work order for 3000-UL, I just want to make sure that this guy's set to auto create, because otherwise it, you know. Okay, so when I come over here and I make my manufacturing order for UL, okay, 3000 UL, and I issue that, now I get 2 work orders, okay?
Okay.
I get, did I forget to save it? I hate it when I do that.
Oh, yeah, it's the worst.
Anyway, it'll create 2 work orders. automatically, one for the top level and one for the subassembly. So,
Okay, so we just have to put that stage and we have to assign the stage.
yeah, and that will always create your subassembly. Okay, if you actually stock them on the shelf and you only need to replenish, they should not be stages.
Okay, so we have them on the shelf. We don't sell them individually. So what happens is we make the sub-assemblies and then we file them all together when we need them.
Yeah, but if you're making them and putting them on the shelf, you don't want to make them stages.
Okay.
Okay, you want to do a second, the auto MO thing to build, to replenish what you don't have. All right.
Okay. All right.
We can do a nice little report that tells you, what you're short for your manufacturing orders. As a matter of fact, I think Fishbowl's got a standard report that does that. Available to build. Yeah. Okay. But we can do a report that shows you what you're short. Okay. For your work orders. Anything else?
I have a question.
Okay.
How do you include a substitution in a BOM? So like in a kit, you can make an item optional. Is there a way to do that for the BOM?
You betcha. Okay, I'm going to add a raw good, and I'm going to say it's an option.
Oh, okay.
So it's just the same as the kit.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't find that. Thank you.
No problem. All right.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Okay, I just went into my QuickBooks. I asked the question about the payment in advance from a customer and offsetting the invoice that comes through Fishbowl. And I just went into my QuickBooks and I see that I don't have the accountant center.
So what you need to do is find yourself a ProAdvisor. Okay. And up here under company, there is, in regular QuickBooks, there's going to say accountants tools. And your local ProAdvisor can enable the accountants tools so you can use them whenever you want.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Intuit created these tools for us ProAdvisors to be more efficient, and they hid them from the client unless you want to buy the accountant's version, which I'll be happy to sell you. All right.
Thank you very much for viewing this video. And we at Terabyte Solutions are a full service Fishbowl support firm. So we would like to help you with your Fishbowl issues. Give us a ring at 949-645-1019 and we will be happy to help. Thank you very much. Bye.